We're at the TUPPS campus, right in smack dab East McKinney, busiest and fastest growing area of McKinney, with the new City Hall just a block that way, flour mill a block that way, 4.5 acre TUPPS campus right here that opened last March. Let me give you a quick little tour of where we are. If you follow me around, we're going to walk over to the main entrance of the East McKinney Learning Garden. This is a project that is done in conjunction between McKinney Parks Foundation and McKinney Community Development Corporation and the City of McKinney. It's a spectacular 1/4 acre property adjacent to TUPPS that will teach people how to grow vegetables in their backyard, teach people about food sustainability, and some of the great agencies that we have right here in McKinney, Texas. This is the entrance to the East McKinney Learning Garden, adjacent to TUPPS, a pathway leading to the silo that is being constructed as we speak in anticipation of next week's ribbon cutting. As you walk along the path, there's a manhole cover directly in the middle of our pathway. Initially, we thought that was going to be an obstacle. It turns out it's going to be a great art project. The McKinney High School art class is going to be painting that in an artistic display with the hopes of becoming a staple throughout this part of McKinney with painted manhole cover. So keep an eye out for this. It's going to be a work in progress during next week's ribbon cutting ceremony on December the 7th. As we walk down the pathway, I'll share with you some of the other features of the garden, which will include about 30 raised beds with the intent of teaching people how to grow vegetables in their backyards. We're very excited about this opportunity. We happen to be in the middle of a designated food desert here in East McKinney, and this is a great opportunity to teach people where their food comes from and sustainability, and also talk about some of the food agencies that support folks in this part of our community. Here at the East McKinney Learning Garden, we're going to feature about 30 to 35 different kinds of raised beds so that people understand that it doesn't take much to raise vegetables in your backyard. Some of these cattle troughs, some of these beds are cattle troughs that were donated by Tractor Supply. Others have been built by volunteers from McKinney Parks Foundation that are red cedar with galvanized steel within them. We're going to have in-ground rock bordered beds. We're going to have a blackberry fence. We're going to have a whole bunch of great things here in the garden. Let me give you a quick tour of some of the structures that we've got going on. The grain bin right behind me is a work in progress. It will be up by the end of the day tomorrow, and it'll be a storage shed. So all of our materials are going to be stored in there so that when volunteers come out, they'll grab shovels, they'll grab tools out of the storage shed to work in the garden. As we walk over here, we'll show you a couple of structures that were erected over the last few days. The structure here on my left or right is the Sprouts Teaching Pavilion. So through this effort, we've raised about $310,000 through private and corporate donations, in addition to about $350,000 that the city and McKinney Community Development Corporation has contributed to the garden. In that $310,000 or so is a $100,000 grant over a 2-year period from Sprouts Market. The Sprouts Foundation is our single biggest sponsor. We couldn't do this garden without them. We're going to name this teaching pavilion the Sprouts Teaching Pavilion to honor their support of the East McKinney Learning Garden. We thank them very much. The structure right behind me is a potting area and a wash station that was erected earlier this week. It's going to be adjacent to some universally designed beds. I'll show you that area in just a moment. And if we walk over towards the street right here, this is going to be our blackberry fence. So the idea is it's going to be a pipe fence built in a traditional old style, about 48 to 55 feet, depending on where we end up, that will have trellising blackberries along the edge. So that'll be a great springtime crop for us. In this area, we're going to have universally designed beds. These universal design beds allow for easy access for people of all abilities, including folks in walkers and wheelchairs, to wheel up to the bed and actually work in it. One of the things that we're trying to do here in the garden is to create a wheelchair accessible garden, not just that you can view from a wheelchair, but you can actively work in the garden. We believe that this would be the most accessible garden from a working perspective in all of Collin County once we're done. Part of that includes designing these beds properly. Most of the beds that you find that are universally designed are not very well made. So we're working on some prototypes now. The anticipation is that we're going to have 2 of those beds in this area that will be significant in size. So figure 3 by 8, 3 by 9, something like that, that will allow that sort of access. About 300 yards behind me on Andrews is the future site of the Hugs Cafe Training Academy. This state-of-the-art training academy will include commercial kitchens, classrooms, the corporate offices for this great not-for-profit. Hugs Cafe is a great organization. It teaches people with intellectual and development disabilities vocational skills on a for-paid basis that can be applied not just within Hugs Cafe, but throughout hospitality around Collin County and the greater Dallas-Fort Worth area. Hugs Cafe is going to be one of the 3 primary recipients for produce that comes out of the garden. About 4 of the beds are going to be designated as Hugs Cafe beds, where folks can come down, get herbs and vegetables and other ingredients for the menu at Hugs Cafe right here in McKinney. One of the other primary recipients of vegetables and produce out of the garden is La Tiendita, or Little Market, which is about 500 yards straight down Greenville towards Muzon Park. Jason Hernandez created this not-for-profit organization to foster mentorship programs for at-risk youth in this part of McKinney. It's a great program. They have a small restaurant in their shop. The intent is for students of the mentor program to come down, grab herbs, grab vegetables as needed to either offer to the community through La Tiendita or to include in the restaurant as part of a healthy menu. About a third of a mile behind me, straight up Throckmorton North, is where our 3rd recipient is located. That's Community Garden Kitchen. CGK is a combination of about a 1/4 of an acre garden, roughly the same size as the East McKinney Learning Garden, but that garden provides produce, vegetables, and food that serves 140 people a free meal 4 nights a week. CGK is one of our 3 primary recipients of produce from this garden. Directly behind me is the Sprouts Teaching Pavilion. Sprouts is one of our primary sponsors, graciously donating $100,000 to the garden development, maintenance, and programming, with the intent of really expanding programming to focus on community gardens and school gardens throughout McKinney and Collin County. Besides Sprouts, we have over 40 other organizations, people, and families that have donated financial support or in-kind donations to the garden. Our other significant sponsor is SRS Distribution through their Raise the Roof Foundation. They provided both cash donations and in-kind donations through a lot of the supplies that are being used for irrigation and surface on the property. We're so proud to have both Sprouts and SRS Distribution as part of our corporate sponsors. This visual gives you a rough idea of what the garden is going to look like. This is a very nice rendering. You'll see in our garden we're going to have about 35 different kinds of raised beds, ranging from trellising bean teepees to cattle troughs that will house herbs and vegetables, to in-ground planting areas like a 50-foot blackberry fence alongside Andrews Road. So we're excited about this partnership. It's a partnership between McKinney Parks Foundation and McKinney Community Development Corporation, with significant help from the city of McKinney itself. MCDC is a great organization that puts money back into the community to develop and foster community areas and community events. They've donated over $235,000 through a grant to help this garden happen, in addition to money that's been provided through the city of McKinney and the Parks Department. In addition to that, we've raised over $300,000 through individual and corporate sponsors throughout the city and the Collin County area. We couldn't be more proud. So as you can tell behind me, there's a lot of construction going on in the garden. A lot is going to happen over the next week, including finishing up the grain bin. We're going to be adding a surface area to the garden that will make it a nice wheelchair accessible area for all to enjoy. This is in lead up to the ribbon cutting ceremony that begins next Saturday, December 7th, beginning at 9:30, from 9:30 to 11:30. We'll have a number of tables set up around that local agencies and organizations will be promoting what they do to support the community as well. We'll have a few giveaways. We'll also be unveiling the East McKinney Learning Garden beer that TUPPS has graciously agreed to produce, and the proceeds of which will support the garden. I believe it's going to be a farmhouse ale. I can't wait to taste it for the first time next Saturday. I hope you'll join us at the ribbon cutting next Saturday, December 7th at 9:30.